So, Robert, how are you today?
Perfect, as always.
Good, good. We'd like to talk to you about your family and your connections with Balnafad. So you've told us your name. Would you mind telling us your age?
I was born on August 14th, 1940.
Thank you. Where does your family live?
My family lives on the 5th line, Lot 3, Concession 6, Rearing Township.
When did your family settle in or near this Balnafad community?
1827.
And in 1827, that would have been your great-great-grandfather?
Yes.
Do you or any of your relatives live in this area still?
My sister lives close by on the 5th line, and I actually don't have any close relatives.
None left?
I have 2 nieces and a nephew that live in California.
It's a nice place to go visit in the winter.
Beautiful.
But no other relatives close?
No.
You're like me. What kind of work did you or your family do?
We've always farmed.
You've always farmed. What kind of farming have you done?
Well, my wife and I milked cows for 40 years. And we since have retired and have 150 head of beef cattle.
That sounds like a very placid retirement. My goodness.
And
Keeps you busy, doesn't it?
We cash crop about 300 acres.
Okay. And you're still fully working?
So far.
So far, that's good. That's good. That's good. Well, they say, as long as you can keep going, you'll keep going, right? Where was your family from before they moved to this community? So this is like, where did your great-great-grandfather come from?
He came from Ireland, and I'd love to find out where, and so far we've been unable to find out. Ireland doesn't have very good records between 1750 and 1800.
Yeah.
And we've been over to Ireland to the Public Records Office, and you can find a lot of Robert Kerrs and James Kerrs, but none of them are related or connected to us.
It's hard to do it at a distance.
And before Ireland, they would have come from the borders in Scotland, I would assume. The Kerr name. I think they were famous from stealing horses from the English.
Does the name itself have any history? Was it a derivation of Kerr?
Kerr, C-E-R, and Carr, C-A-R-R.
Okay.
Do you consider yourself still somewhat Irish or Scottish?
Irish.
Irish.
My wife's Scottish.
Is she? So you're covering both bases, right?
And she can trace her ancestry back to John Knox, the John Knox.
The John Knox. Wow.
So I tell everyone that she's as stubborn as an ox.
Oh.
Stubborn as an ox.
In this community, in Balnafad, Do you feel it's predominantly Scottish? Protestant? What do you feel about it?
It's not as multicultural as downtown, but it's getting more
Heading
like
that way. Okay.
In the early days, was it felt to be Scots? It was quite a mixture, eh? Scots,
Scottish and Irish, I think.
Did you ever see any, were there ever any Catholic families that you remember?
I don't remember any.
I don't either. It's interesting.
So in the rural area, I would assume that they were all Protestants, right?
Yeah.
I believe I've run across a Catholic line
Okay.
somewhere. Don't ask me which binder it's in. Okay, did you ever know Sandy McKay?
I've met him briefly, but I don't really know anything about him.
Okay. Are you married? Yes, you are. Is your wife still living?
Yes. Last I talked to her.
She was this morning, wasn't she? Could I have her name, please?
Patricia?
And she goes back to John Knox.
Yeah, they got good records. It's
Very
been frustrating for me that I can't get back further than 1824.
That's a fair way.
What was her married name? Her maiden name? Pat.
Knox.
That was Knox. Yeah.
So she's direct then.
Well,
Yeah,
they've
I-
really, I've read the history. And
Yes,
it's back
that's
to the
really
1500s.
direct.
Yeah.
Oh.
Her father's name was John.
Yeah,
What else?
genealogy is
Mhm.
absolute nightmare. Okay, all right. So, did your spouse's family live in Ballingford? Or the
No,
area?
she lived in the Bowmanville area.
And how did you meet him?
She went overseas with a classmate of mine in junior farmers, and she was singing at there was 4 of them went over representing the junior farmers in Ontario to the UK, and anyway, she was singing at the one girl's wedding after they came back, and my classmate stopped and wanted to talk to me, and she didn't want to stop because she had no idea who Bob Kerr was, or wasn't interested in finding out. Anyway, we met at a restaurant in Acton, and then my classmate and her came out to the farm, and I ended up driving her home that night, and 6 months later she kept proposing, and I got tired of refusing. So.
Really?
Yeah, do you have any other wooden nickels in your pocket? And do you have any children?
I have a boy and a girl.
Who's the elder?
My boy, he's the business strategist for the ministry for the province, for 4 ministries in Toronto, at Queen's Park. And my daughter's got a master's in English, and started off as a high school teacher, and then she was in a major car accident just up the road, and hasn't 10 years ago, and has had trouble getting back into the teaching high school, and so she's helped on the farm since then, and she is back in the classroom again.
Good for her. That happened to me 10 years ago.
That's great.
Give her my best. Now I know what it's like. But it didn't have to be on there. But so. Okay. Now let's talk about what this place is like. You've been here for a long time. You must have seen a lot of changes down the front area. How has it changed for you over the years?
Well, it used to be a real community. and as Marilyn was saying, there's thrashing bees, and the women would make 25 pies and they'd all be gone. The guys would just be starving. But that was the community. Everybody knew what was going on because you all shared work. And over the years, people started to buy their own machinery and depended less on neighbors helping. And I remember when Pat and I were married, we had a presentation in Balmafad Hall. And that was the norm back then, where the community would come together and welcome her into the area, and at weddings and so on. The church group would prepare the meals, and the local community hall would have a dance, and all that seems to have gone in the last number of years.
I do notice that in the Iron Advocate still, quite frequently you see it at Buckendow at the community centre there, or something like that, or a shower for the girl for a wedding. I guess that's a little bit left over from those days. But you don't see that in the more urban areas.
And it used to be, if someone was leaving the area, then there'd be a presentation at the hall. Well, they had to cut that out because it was hard to separate who should have it and who shouldn't, and so they just dropped it. About 20 years ago, I guess. Which is unfortunate because that brought the community together, those functions.
Do you think it's hard enough for people to feel part of the community? Either those who still live here from previous times, or the people coming in?
I think the people coming in have their own circle of friends and their own agenda. And I remember a few years ago in Balmafad, everybody's excited when these new subdivisions started springing up and they were going to get more people out of the church. But and I was an elder here at the church, and we go around and approach some of these people, and they said, "We're not interested in taking part in your community. We're going to your church." So it's very difficult to have a community, certainly around the church, like it used to be.
Overall, what did you like best about life in this community as you lived it in the last years? Like from when you were a kid growing up through to your, not quite retirement, but...
Not quite retirement, you got that right. I just enjoy the farm life. My son lives downtown Toronto, and I don't understand really why he does. But his idea is that if you work in the city, then you live in the city, that you cannot commute. And we go down fairly often to visit my grandson, James Kerr, and it's sometimes 2.5 hours or sometimes an hour and a half on the highway. So.